Bonjour Rosemont, ça qu'a fait? Ça va? I've been enjoying your poetry. I'm so proud of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you can join us tonight. Happy you can join. I'm going to give the ladies a couple minutes, see who can come in. Rosemond, in the chat, can you tell me what one intention you have for joining tonight? What do you hope to hear? What do you hope to hear tonight? What is one intention you have for learning how to say no without actually saying no? Or really to say no but not feel bad about it, as in regret, anger, anxiety, sadness, disappointment in yourself, feeling like you went too far. So welcome, welcome ladies. Tonight we are talking about how to say no with feminine grace. Now, here's the thing. Who needs to hear this? I am starting with myself. They say we teach best what we need to learn. And I have, for most of my life, struggled with saying no properly. When I say properly, I mean in a way that is in my best interest. I grew up in a way that as number 9 out of 10 kids, everybody else gets to speak before you do. And, you know, growing up in the Caribbean, when you grow up, the older ones have all the say. You know, your older siblings can actually whoop you if you do something wrong. So, as number 9 and a girl, I learned quickly to go along so I can get along. I learned how to try to be almost perfect, do everything just right, so people wouldn't even be mad at me in the first place, so I wouldn't even need to have a confrontation with them. So of course you can do this as a kid, but when you become an adult, you know, St. Paul has a phrase, when I was a child, I thought, as a child, now that I am a man or an adult, I have put away childish things. As an adult, you must learn how to do it differently, or else you end up really suffering. Other people get what they need, but you, because you haven't learned how to ask for what you need, or how to say no, how to put the brakes on some things, you could end up allowing or participating in your own demise. And that's not even good for the person who's trying to get what they need, right? Because that's really what most people are trying to do. They're trying to get what they need. And they're not trying to hurt you necessarily. There are a few people who are trying to hurt you, but for the most part, with our family or friends or partners, they're not necessarily trying to hurt us. They're just trying to get what they need. Now, it is also our responsibility to ask for what we need, because nobody's the same, okay? So, Jessica, hello. I have an exercise for you all before you start. What is one intention you have for today's training? And write it in the chat. One intention you have for today's training. Like I say, who needs this? Everybody needs this. Everybody needs this. Because there's some of us who know how to say no pretty good. In fact, we can say it too well, to the point where we can hurt other people's feelings without necessarily meaning to, or we just haven't learned how to say it in a different way. Okay? My intention is that you will gain some more skills than you already have to speak clearer, to speak non-violently, and to speak intentionally and with confidence. Okay? Why do you think it's so hard to say no? Number one, it's a brain thing. Who wants to be the one that's different coming up against a possible backlash? Nobody. Nobody. Except for those people who really like to fight. There's some of us who are fighters, and so we go hard. But for people who are more driven by cooperation, right? Like I said, for myself, going along to get along, peacemakers, many women in our communities, feminine people who are more used to acquiescing or giving in. Yes, the idea that you might get into a fight with somebody if you say no could be a big deterrent. Here's another one, gender socialization. Many women are raised to be quiet and gentle and smile and be cooperative. Be cooperative. Religion and culture. You know, there's some religions where a woman is supposed to actually be silent in the church, according to their doctrine. According to their doctrine. So silence means I can't even say what I'm thinking or feeling. How dare I even say no? A lot of us also learn from trauma how not to say no, how not to speak up. And I also think many of us don't want to say no because we hate how it feels for ourselves. So we end up having compassion for another person in the sense that we don't want them to feel bad because we know how we feel when we hear the word no. Well, there are ways to do it so that you don't even actually have to use the word no. And tonight I want to teach you my SSS strategy to help you remember a little system so you can say no and feel good about it. Good because you've taken care of yourself, and good because you've tried also to be compassionate to the other person. First off, how do you say no? You want to say no with clarity as much as you can. Be clear. So for instance, instead of saying, I don't know, maybe, well, perhaps, if you want, you can do it. Try instead to say, yes, I like it like this. I prefer it like that. You're just being honest. And you have a right to your preference. You have a right to what you like. Yeah? You know, if you give somebody else the opportunity to say whether or not they like what it is you're asking for, you're opening yourself up to them telling you what they prefer. And then you end up without getting what you want. Try to speak with honesty, meaning try not to exaggerate or make up a story. Somebody does something and you feel really bad about it. I feel ashamed. I felt ashamed when you said that. As opposed to, you destroyed me. Well, I think you would be not sitting here talking if you were destroyed. So hyperbole or exaggeration doesn't necessarily help because the other person listens to you and they're like, no, you are not destroyed. Yeah, I can understand that you feel ashamed or you feel bad or you feel sad, but destroyed, no. Also, set an intention to be positive as you can when you're communicating. So instead of saying, I think I will try to talk to my sister about the fact that she's always asking me for money, but she's never lending me any when I need some. So I'll try to talk to her, but I know, she's not going to do it. I already know. That's so negative, and that's really not helpful. So instead, you might want to say something like, I choose to share my honest emotions with my family. As you begin to practice saying no, speaking up. Everybody has a right to say, to think, to feel, to be, to do whatever they want. We are separate souls. We're divine souls with a right, God-given right to be who we've decided we want to be on the planet. So let's start with my SSS system. First S. The first S in saying no, without necessarily using the words, is called a stroke. S is for stroke. Now, what's a stroke? A stroke is to soothe, yeah, to apply a little bit of pressure, but something soothing. Okay? To stroke is to empathize. So you might make a statement that acknowledges that you understand the person sees something differently than you do. Or you can empathize in the sense of, hey, I understand this must feel really bad for you. Or I get it. You must feel really stressed out with that. Yeah? But then, second S, you stand. You stand your ground and you state your position. Why? Because everybody has a right to whatever it is they're thinking or feeling. And in relationship, we ought to be able to share that with the other person. Yeah? People have a right to receive it or not, but we have a right to what we're thinking. We have a right to what we're feeling. After we state that, of course, we talk and we can negotiate and we can come to some sort of position. But your next step is to stand and state your position. So, I appreciate that this is how you see it. I can understand that this is how you see it. That's a stroking. Standing is, but I feel uncomfortable when you do it. I feel so irritated when you touch me like that. I feel so mad when you borrow things from me, but you won't allow me to borrow from you in return. And then the third S is support. Okay, so earlier I mentioned the fact that most of us, we don't like to hurt people's feelings. We don't like to tell people things that make them feel yucky or uncomfortable. So you want to seal that piece of communication with a little bit of support where you offer help or you offer an alternative or you express some empathy. Okay? Express some empathy in the sense, let me give you an example. Somebody asks you to come to their baby shower and you are like, I don't like baby showers. In your head, you know this already. What you can do is say, that baby shower sounds fantastic. I'm so happy for you that you all are having the baby. Congratulations. That's your stroke. Step 1. Step 2 is, but I'm not comfortable coming to baby showers. Or there's something else I must do on that night. Yeah, that's your stand. And then you support. You can say, well, what do you think about me stopping by before the party and giving you a gift? So the person doesn't necessarily leave you feeling just kind of wide open and feeling like you just pushed them away, you just rejected them and you don't want to help them and you're just greedy, when really all you're trying to do is to say, I just don't want to come to the baby shower. That's all. Hi, Nats. Welcome. I see you. So to review, this is the SSS system. How to say no with grace. How to say no without using the N word, in this case, no. Okay? Number 1, stroke. So you find something that's positive about what the person is doing, what they're saying, the fact that they even have that opinion that you perhaps never even considered. Oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. That's interesting. That's an interesting idea for everybody in the office to put $50 together for Mary's birthday party. But then, take your stand. If you don't have $50 to give Mary for Mary's birthday party, that sounds like a great idea. However, I won't be able to do that this week. Or I can't do that today. Or I'm not comfortable spending so much. Or that's not in line with my budget. Okay? And then you offer support where you might say something like, well, how about I bring Mary, I'd love to bring Mary a piece of cake from home. Yeah? Or I can bring Mary a card. How is that? Okay? So people don't think you're not just there being a Scrooge, but you've said no without actually saying no. And you've taken care of yourself. You've taken care of perhaps an argument you might have had at home with your spouse, who, if you had agreed to something like $50, your spouse might have been so upset with you. Yeah? So you have to be able to state your position, even if you feel uncomfortable doing it. Because what will happen if you don't is you will end up committing yourself to things that you don't want to do. You'll end up giving people more than you want to give. And you'll start feeling really bad about yourself because it'll feel like everybody's walking all over you. Or some of us, we say, oh, they don't want to listen to me. Well, they have a right not to listen to you, but you also have a right to choose what you do when they don't listen to you. Okay? Now, I promised a few little extras, like a few of my secrets for actually in practice saying no, in the sense of resisting people's pressure to try to break you down when you know in yourself, what you want, what you don't want. And some people are very good at applying pressure. Very good. Okay? So one that is very popular, everybody knows, the broken record. The broken record is basically verbal persistence, where if you know you don't want to go to that baby shower, you just do like a stuck record. You remember those old LPs and those records back in the day? They would get a little scratch and they'd go, wah, 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 wah. That's basically what you're doing with words, where you stroke, stand, and support. So you go, yeah, oh, that baby shower sounds like a fabulous idea. I'm so happy for you that you're having the baby. You stroke, you stand, but that day is not a good day for me. Or you say something like, I am not comfortable with baby showers. I don't like the feeling I get when I'm at a baby shower. And then you give a little support. Is there something else I can do to help you instead of coming to your baby shower? Okay? That is very threatening for a lot of us, meaning it makes a lot of us women uncomfortable to withstand that kind of pressure, because some people will keep coming. They'll come around the bend. They'll come straight. They'll come up top. They'll try to come below. You're going to try to breathe through it, yeah, to calm yourself down, calm your anxiety down. Those negative thoughts you might be having in your head, like, oh my God, they're not going to like me. They're going to think I'm just a bitchy person, or I'm just a greedy person, or I'm not nice. You know yourself. You know you're nice. You know you're not a mean person. And you know in yourself that you don't want to go to that baby shower. And you have a right to not go to those people's baby shower. That's their event. That's their thing. Of course, you want to support your friend, but you don't have to support a friend in everything, especially if that thing goes against something you want to do or don't want to do. Okay? So, with as little emotion as possible, you don't need to get all hyped up. Just keep calmly restating, yeah, that sounds like so much fun. I'm so happy for you, but I really cannot make it. I have other plans that night. How about I give you a card next week? So you stroke, you stand, and you support. Okay? You have any questions for me? Put it in the chat. Yeah, here's another one. All of us are familiar with the idea of compromise. Compromising is trying to find at least some area where we can agree. Okay? Even if I cannot give you everything, I can give you some of it. Okay? You want to make exceptions for if this is something that's a non-negotiable for you. So if it's, I don't know many people who want to compromise on a partner cheating on them, yeah, or punching them, or slapping them, or touching them in a nasty way, or verbally assaulting them. That's non-negotiable for most human beings. And so the idea of compromising on that, that's, you can make your choice, but I think things like that are non-negotiable. If the thing is a mood killer or a self-esteem killer, yeah, somebody's asking you to do something that's going to attack your self-esteem, meaning the way you even look at yourself. At 2 o'clock in the morning, who do you have? Yourself. So if you're going to be doing something that feels bad to you, you must think twice. And 3, if it's a boundary breaker. For me, the main boundary breakers are if something is illegal, if something is immoral, if something is unethical. So yes, I like you or I love you, but I'm not going to break those kinds of boundaries with you. Okay? So again, you stroke. For example, you might, if somebody's asking you for $200, and you might have the $200, you might have $5,000 in your bank account. But whose money is it? Whose money is it? Yours and theirs or yours? It's yours. It's your money. So the person wants $200. They have a right to want $200. And they have a right to ask a friend for $200. But you being said friend, if you're not comfortable lending that person $200, you stroke them. You say something like, wow, that must be hard for you right now. Yeah, I understand. I've been in positions where I don't have any money. I understand. But I can't lend you $200 this week. I can't lend you $200 ever. And you might do a little support at the end where you kind of don't leave them just hanging and wide open. You might say, well, but I can do $50. How about that? Or you might know somebody who can give them a loan, and you can say, but I know so-and-so who can give you a loan. Yeah, so that's a compromise. So as opposed to just your stomach is just turning, yeah, and they ask you for the money and you don't want to give the money and you give it anyway. What happens is the person walks off feeling good. You stand there feeling horrible. Look, you do not need to live like this. And you have options. And again, one of those options is that SSS formula. You stroke the person, you find something where you can agree with the person about the situation, right? I agree, I can appreciate, I understand. But then you stand and you state your position, you state your feeling, or you state what you don't want, or what you don't like, or what you like, or what you prefer. And then you seal it up. You remember when we were little, they would give us cod liver oil, but they'd always give us a little spoon of sugar at the end. So that last S is like that spoon of sugar after the cod liver oil. Okay? So here's one last piece. This is called fogging. I don't know if you've ever heard of the idea or the concept of fogging. So fogging is when people criticize you, you want to agree with what might be an actual truth in what they say. So even if they're just saying stuff willy-nilly and your feelings are hurt and you want to just fight back and verbally defend yourself, sometimes that is not going to go anywhere. You can try that in the beginning. If the person is reasonable, they will listen to you. But if the person is so hyper emotional in the moment, they don't care what you say, they don't want to hear what you say. What you want to do is find something that they said in that criticism and say something like, you know what? You could be right about this piece right there. Or that might be true. I never considered it. You might be right. Okay, that's a stroke. That's a stroke. But then you stand and say something like, but it really was not my intention to hurt you. It was not my intention to hurt you. And support, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry your feelings were hurt in the process. I'll think about it. I'll see what I can do. I'll try my best to do it differently tomorrow. That's the support. That's the spoon of sugar. After the cod liver oil you just administered, which was you disagreeing with this thing that they're criticizing you about. Okay? Hi, Carrie. Carrie is tuned in. Hi, Carrie, you're tuned in. So because Carrie is tuned in, I'm going to do one more for Carrie. Because Carrie was like, Dr. Wallace, can you put that in the group? I need the recording from Monday. All right, so Carrie, I'll review some of what we talked about before we finish, but I'll do one more. So somebody asks you to do something that you feel, and ladies, we feel it in our bodies, right? I feel it in my belly. I feel it in my stomach. But when we were little, we'd say my stomach turned or my stomach hurts, my belly hurt me. Somebody asks you to do something and you feel the pull on your solar plexus chakra, and you know they're trying to dig in and get you to do something you're not comfortable with. What you can do is you can stall. You can buy time. Okay? And some people, I'm telling you, are so good at this. They're on you like white on rice, and they want you to answer them right now because they know if you answer right now, they can hold you to it right now, and they'll hold it against you for the rest of your life. Okay? To buy time, what you can do is, again, you stroke, meaning you find something positive about the thing the person is asking you to do or asking you to give them, right? You can say, oh, that sounds like fun. Say that baby shower we were talking about earlier. That sounds like fun. That sounds amazing. But I must check my schedule. That's you standing, right? Or you can say, but I must talk with my husband. Husbands and boyfriends and mates are great. Kids too. When people say, some people want all of your time, okay? I must check my schedule. The kids might have something that night, or my husband might have something planned for that night. But then you give the little bit of sugar at the end. I'll text you tonight to let you know after I've checked my schedule, or I'll email you, or I will call you. Try not to leave people hanging, because when we leave people hanging, we leave them wide open, and so they feel more anxious, and that anxiety prompts them to keep just harassing you. Yeah? So you give them something. You give them the little spoon of sugar after the cod liver oil. So, wow, that sounds great, but let me check with my mom, let me check with my husband, let me check with my fiance. That's interesting, but I have to think about that. Give me a couple days, let me think about it. I'll let you know in a week. Okay? So you stroke, find something positive, because again, everybody has a right to what they think, to what they're saying, to what they're feeling. So yeah, you have a right to that. I can see that. I can see how you see it that way. I can see how you think I'm a liar. I can see how you think I'm a thief. Maybe I have lied. There are times I do lie. I'm a human being. So you're right. I don't disagree with you at all. However, you stand and you say, but I'm really sorry your feelings were hurt because it was not my intention. You speak your truth. Like you go deep into your guts, into your belly. That same belly. Belly, I talk about belly a lot with women because we feel a lot of things in our belly. And I want you to put credence in that and pay attention to that, because sometimes that part of your body will signal you that something is not good for you. And if it's feeling weird there, you must stop. S-T-O-P. And you might use a technique like stalling and just putting it off. Although you stroke the person and acknowledge that the idea is interesting. I mean, you've never considered it, Rosamond says, I appreciate all that graciousness and fully agree with the S's. But, however, don't certain situations require a directness or no, gently or calmly? Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is for people who just cannot abide saying no. This is for people who you feel like your guts are coming out when you have to say no. Or sometimes the way the person has asked you the question, it's hard to come up with just a no. It's all twisted and tangled up. Okay? So you want to slow the conversation down. You want to slow even your brain down so you can think clearer. breathe, you can pause and slow down. So sometimes in the moment you can slow down enough to where you can connect to how you're really feeling about it and actually give a, you know what, that's not going to work for me. And that's okay. You can do that. Not saying you cannot. It's just that we're human beings, and for many of us, it feels better if there's a little bit of sugar on the end, just psychologically. For those people who have trouble saying no or rebuffing people because, they're so big-hearted and open-hearted and they don't like to hurt people's feelings, doing it like that helps many people feel better about actually disagreeing or delivering the thing that's a no without actually using the words no. Thank you for the question, Rosemond. I see Mensma, you just joined. Mensma, clearly the universe meant for you to hear a replay of this that we did on Monday. This one is create a policy. Create a policy, okay? For some things, especially money and sex. Money, sex, even politics. Some of these things can get really complicated very fast. A lot of entanglements, a la Will and Jada, right? So if you are having trouble with the person who's asking you for money, or just anybody, if you don't want to lend people money, if you don't like the feeling you get when you lend people things, or you do things for people without being compensated, if you don't like that feeling, but you find it hard to say no, it'll be helpful for you to create a policy. That way, you know that this is how it's going to be across the board. So you don't even have to feel like you're picking and choosing. That's one area where, as a psychologist, as a therapist, as a licensed clinical social worker, as many people with licenses, we just save our lives by adhering to codes of ethics that our professions give us. Because it is, when you deal with people one-on-one every day and you create relationships with people, it's hard sometimes to say no. It's hard sometimes to say no. But if you have a policy, if you have a set of rules, if you have a set of rules about things, then you just know that that's what I do. So if your policy is no sex before marriage, that's your policy. If your policy is no sex until you tell me we are boyfriend, girlfriend, that's your policy. If your policy is no, I'm not lending money, I'm not sharing money, I'm not saving money, except if we are getting married, that's your policy. But you want to do that so that you're not just wide open. You're not just wide open when you get the incoming. Okay? So Carrie's asking, how about when you feel like someone is overburdening you, always requiring something from you, and you must let them know that they need to stop? What do you recommend? Okay, so let me read the question again. How about when you feel like somebody's overburdening you, like they're asking too much of you, they're always requiring something from you, and you want to let them know they need to stop? What do you recommend? Okay, here's the thing. We can ask them to stop, but they might not stop. Like, there are some people who will beat you down and tell you, I don't care what you say, but I'm the one that raised you, or I'm the one that I sent you to school, or I gave you $50 when you were broke, so you owe me for the rest of your life. That person might never stop. I would say make an appointment with this person, right? Make an appointment as in get their attention and say, hey, there's something I really want to talk with you about. That's your first attempt, okay? I really want to talk with you about this. Yeah? They come up and they've asked you for money, and you want to pause them in the moment. You can say, hey, all right, I've been meaning to talk with you about this. I can understand. So you stroke them first, Carrie. It must be so hard for you right now. Or you must really, I understand how you really like me to do X, Y, and Z. I get it, but sometimes I'm just so tired. And or right now I'm just so tired, or I don't feel good doing it. I've done it for you up to this point, but it's really a lot for me. It's been a lot for me, but I've done it even beyond the level that feels comfortable for me. And I don't want to do it anymore. This is one where you want to say, I don't want to do it anymore, or I'm not comfortable doing it anymore. Or you can compromise. You can say, I can do up to this, but I cannot do all that. Or I can do it now, but I don't want to do it after next week. You give them a little time to get used to the idea. It depends really on what that specific situation is. Okay, Carrie, if you can be a little bit more specific, I can help you with the actual wording of it. But really, you get the person's attention. Either you initiate it, or the next time they come to you asking for things, asking for you to do things, asking for you to take on certain things, and you stroke them. You say, I understand. You really like when I do it. I understand. I can see how what I'm doing is really helpful for you. But it's helpful for you, but it's been a real burden for me. Sometimes you want to ask the person, is that what you want? Is that you want me to feel overburdened? And most people don't want to, and they just haven't thought about it necessarily, because how many people cannot feel our pain unless we tell them. And sometimes even when we tell them, they cannot necessarily relate, because either they haven't gone through it, or even if they've gone through it, many people like to think their pain is stronger than your pain. And somehow you're stronger and you'll get over it faster than they will. They hurt, but you're not. You hurt, yes, but not as much as they hurt. It's just a human thing. So that's why it's your responsibility to actually take the action. So if the person keeps coming and asking for more help, earlier on we talked about something called the broken record, Carrie, where you just keep saying the same thing. You stroke them, right? You can say, I understand, I get it, but that's not comfortable for me. It might have been comfortable for me last month, but it's not comfortable for me anymore. Because people who are trying to get us to do what they want, they will, like I said, they will jump high, jump low, outside, all around the ring of roses, right? To try to get in somehow, to get you to do the thing you're saying, I don't want to do it, or it doesn't feel good for me. But some people are very relentless, and so you have to stand, you have to be willing to repeat. You stroke them, you stand, and then you support them. Carrie says there may be situations where people feel like you handle stuff so well sometimes. Instead of allowing you to volunteer, they just put you to stuff. And sometimes you don't want to let them down, but sometimes it's just too much at the time. Oh my goodness. I hear you, Carrie. I hear you. You use the stroke, the stand, and the support system, the 3 S's. So you stroke them. You say something like, yeah, I really understand. I get it. I know I do this very well. And you're right. I do it very well. But now you take your stand and you say, yes, but I'm feeling overwhelmed at the moment, or my schedule is too heavy for me at the moment, or I don't want to do it right now, or I've decided, or I've created a policy, right? Or I've decided I'm taking a little 6-month break, or I've decided to let some other person try, or I'm taking a little bit of a rest. That's where you stand. And then you provide some support, where you say something like, I'd be willing to train the new person, or I can show you what to do. Or is there something else I can do to help you so they don't feel as if you're just dropping them? Okay? So the last piece, the support piece, like I told the group earlier, is like after you drink your cod liver oil and you want to just go kill yourself in a ravine because that thing tastes so yucky, your parents would give you a little spoon of sugar or honey to wash it down. So that's what the support does. So Mensma says, yes, and you feel overwhelmed. You can't really say that you are taking a break when you are the person to go to. Well, you can, remember, here's the rule. Everybody, including you, Mensma, you have a right to say, think, feel, and be anything. Hi, Ramona. We alle dormi. Why are you still up? Mensma. So you too, Mensma, you have a right to feel overwhelmed because you're a human being. You're a human being. And you want to watch for people who don't want to allow you to be a human being. For those people who don't want to let you be overwhelmed when you're telling them you're overwhelmed. This person might not have your best interest at heart. This person might be more concerned about their affairs than you and your affairs. I'll tell you what, if you were to drop down today, I can guarantee you they'll find somebody else the next day. So you want to remind yourself that we are all expendable. We are all expendable. They might care, they might actually care, up to a degree, but they care more about what they want than what you want. And that's really their job. For the most part, a brain, we're so led by our brains. The brain's job is to keep us alive, to help us survive, okay? The brain's job is to help us survive and succeed. So everybody's brain is really trying to figure out what's the best way for me to succeed, okay? So very often people are not necessarily trying to hurt us or take advantage of us. They're just trying to get their needs met. The thing is to remember that you also have a right, just as they do, to get your needs met. And if a thing does not feel good, if it's disgusting to you, if it's too much for you, you have a right to say that, or else you will be just suffering in silence. And the other person either won't know or they won't care. They won't know because you won't tell them, or when you tell them, they won't care and they will keep expecting it anyway. And if you don't put a stop to it, they'll keep doing it. And that's just not correct. That's not correct. Okay? That's where you start setting up really codependent relationships with people, where we start to bear the burden. So we become the strong one, and they get to be, I'm tired, I couldn't, what's wrong with you? Why do I have to be perfect and you're not? You get to be broken and, I can't, stop it, No. And you can choose to do it if you want. What I'm saying is, if it is so burdensome for you that it leads you to feeling bad about yourself because you feel like you're just taking on too much, if it leads you to feeling regret, if it leads you to resenting the person who's doing that and asking that of you, which you will, if you're a human being, you will come to resent it, okay? Then you want to say something. Yeah, you want to say something and you want to begin to do something in a different way, even if the other person doesn't like it. Because you have to remember, you don't like a lot of the things they're asking of you, but you've been doing it anyway. Okay? So Rosalind says, on the other side of the coin, how about saying no to those who constantly leave you out of decision-making processes, and you want to declare that enough is enough? that's powerful, right? And it depends too on the dynamic. If you're in a couple relationship, or if you're in a family setting, or if you're in a work setting, where some people like to, they make the decisions, and it's almost as if like you have to go along. That is really not cherishing of you as a woman. That's kind of silly, because that means they've lost out on your potential ideas and the richness that you also add to the mix. So they potentially missed out on a huge, opportunity, or a big, or some really important insight that you have. Everybody's unique and different. Yeah, and we're parts of groups to help the group be better and do better from our uniqueness, from what we bring that's different. So if we're going to be in family, in community, in group, in relationship, everybody's feelings have to be considered. Everybody's thoughts have to be considered. Yeah. And if you find that people are just making decisions and leaving you out, and that's important enough to you, you want to consider if you want to be part of that group, or how far, you do participate in the group. But that can happen too when we're not paying attention. Sometimes it starts off being easy, where, oh, it's great, somebody else is making decisions, that's great, it's less decisions for me. Sometimes making decisions is burdensome. But even if you're not making decisions, you want to be involved. Even if you might allow somebody else to have the last call many times, sometimes you want to have the last call because you are part of the process. Did you just suddenly disappear? No, and you have as much right as the other people in the group to have an opinion, to have ideas. Yeah. Any more questions? So y'all remember fogging? Fogging is the one where if a person criticizes you, you agree with anything that's actually true in it. Okay? You say something like, you know what, that's true, that's right, or that piece right there, that's actually true about me. You're right, I could have done it differently. I could have done it, and gotten better outcomes. You're right. But I'm still not comfortable. I still don't want to do XYZ. You have a right to that. You have a right to it. You're a human being. You can say, yeah, but I'll think about it. Maybe I might change my mind. But, I didn't think about it this way, so give me some time to think about it. But you have a right to what you're feeling. Always. Always. Everybody does. Okay? So let's review. S. Stroke. Say something nice. Appreciate something about what the person is saying that you're like, Even if you know you're not going to agree, at least appreciate the fact that they have these interesting or new ideas. Then you stand. Yeah, you stand. Natasha is saying people's ideas must be considered in groups. That's a factor that we often lack in group meetings. Yeah, some people begin because they have louder voices, or because they have, they might have more connections or more pull or more whatever. Sometimes we want to listen to them more. But everybody in a group has to be able to take a stand and express their stand. Okay? So if you're one of those people who's had to be quiet in a group because other people just, as if it's for them alone, like they're the only ones in there. Only what they say count. You stroke them. You say, you know what? You have very good ideas. I really like the ideas you bring to the group. But this one, I disagree. Or this one, I would feel better doing it this way instead. And, how about I help you figure it out? Or how about I work on it and I show you how we can do it together? Okay, that would be the support piece. That's the last piece. So ladies, before we go, I want to encourage you to, in spite of whatever it is that has made you feel uncomfortable, saying no, disagreeing, speaking up for yourself, asking for clarity, asking people to support you more. Yeah. In spite of that, you have a right, as a human being to say, to think, to feel, to be, to do what you want to do. You are a separate human being. You and your creator, right? We work out our stuff with our divine creator. Now, when we come into groups, we find ways to compromise, we find ways to encourage, but we must also find ways to speak and participate. Or else the other person or the group, they're missing out. They're missing out on your goodness. They're missing out on your uniqueness, okay? So Carrie, you stroke because you know, like nurses, when you were little, sometimes they would rub your little bottom before they stuck the needle in it. Like, they take the little, whatever it is, little cotton ball with whatever, and they, just stroke it a little bit, right? So that the person doesn't feel just assaulted. So you just calm their brain down a bit by stroking them. But then you express your thoughts or your feelings that might be different from what the other person is saying. Okay, that's the stand. You stroke, then you stand your ground, state your position, and then you support. The support is like giving a little bit of sugar or honey after you drink that cod liver oil. So after you told them the thing that you're like, that maybe just stung. They don't like it when I disagree with them. They just want me to agree with them, everything they say. How is that ever possible? That you'll agree with everything another person says? That's insane, right? You want to offer support still, so the other person doesn't feel like you just abandon them or you don't like them. Some of us take people's disagreeing with us so personally, like we don't like them anymore, you don't love me, you don't care for me. No, that's not true. I just have a different thought, a different idea. Okay, so how about we try it this way? Or I'd be willing to help you with it that way, or I'll come back, I'll think about it, and I'll let you know at a later date, at a later time. Okay, so stroke, stand, and support. All right, Carrie, and Nats, and Rosamond, and Ramona, and I saw Fiona, and Mensma. Who else came on? So you guys, Jessica, y'all, peace to you. Thank you for sharing your evening with me. And tomorrow it's Friday. We get to get ready for the weekend. Yeah. Tomorrow in group is Friday. I want you to post your favorite something, like your favorite food, your favorite meal, your favorite movie, your favorite something. Okay? And you'll have a great night and stay blessed. All right? Stay blessed. Bye. Bye, Mensma. You're welcome. You'll have a great night. You're welcome, Carrie. You're welcome, Nats. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Put it into practice now, okay? So knowledge without application is just knowledge. So application is how you change and you shift and you grow. So try it out. You're welcome, Rosamond. You're welcome, cuz. Good job on the poetry and the writing. I'm so proud of you. Bye, ladies. Bye-bye.